I really do hope I'm not the only person who heard the title of this movie and immediately thought, Casino Royale. I don't know, James Bond's first thing I thought of. Vesper is a new film that's going relatively and undeservingly below the radar and stars Rafaela Chapman as a young girl named Vesper. She lives in post-apocalyptic Earth, and now it's been devastated by mankind's own stupidity, negligence, and foolishness. But along the way, she discovers someone and something that will change everything about what she knows. I will give you basically nothing to know about this movie because I didn't know much about it walking in. I walked into it, saw it, got very surprised, and walked out quite impressed with it. This is not a huge film. It's relatively small. It got a decent sized budget. There's no major stars in it per se. The two directors who directed this aren't huge directors, but they directed this film very well. This film is great. This film is just a breath of fresh air to come in during this entire thing we're having going on right now, where we just feel like at this point getting swamped with films because it's getting closer to Oscar season. We're wrapping up summer. So many people are trying to get so much done, and films like this, which are more contained and small and not as large necessarily in scale with a big cinematic budget and a good, huge flashy look to it, are going to kind of get swept away and people aren't going to see it. They're not going to know it's out, and they may not give it as much of a blink of an eye as they would a different film. This movie, deservingly though, deserves to get a lot more hype than it's getting. It tells a really good story. Not only are some really cool messages in here, there's some brilliant performances, and some people sat down in a room and wrote this script and came up with some really genius ideas for what they could do with this. The best part of all is I think this doesn't seem out of reach. Post-apocalyptic Earth in here doesn't look like Mad Max Fury Road or, The Matrix. It looks like Earth, and it looks like Earth's a little messed up, but that's about it. And it looks like the same planet we live on. People dress the way we dress, they talk the way we talk pretty much, so you feel like this is something that's relatable. I don't feel like it's out of reach. The fact of making this protagonist younger too is something that makes them more vulnerable, more susceptible for us to be able to relate to, and you follow and watch everything through their eyes, so they're not necessarily going to understand everything clearly, which plays into the script quite well in this film, because if you have someone who's a 35-year-old grizzled hero played by Chris Evans, he's more likely to probably understand what's going on. However, if it's a small child who's not necessarily wise to the world as of yet, and are still trying to learn the ways, though they were thrust into this disaster, they're going to have to try to make their way of their own, and they've got to learn the hard way and the tough way. That script takes perfect advantage of this. This film is nothing, like I said, that's big lights in your face and booming action. It's a quiet film that makes a strong statement and asks intelligent questions and expects you to listen and just sit along for the ride. And I was down for that. I think it was really well done in here. There are a few problems, I think, with the movie. The movie has some pacing issues. It's really not always moving at a speed where it should be to keep the audience necessarily invested. Also, I think there are several missed opportunities where they start going a direction and fail to go through by not fully fleshing ideas out. But aside from that, this film really does do a great job. Everyone in it is doing great. It's fantastic that this is even out there. I think it's something you should go check out. I'm going to give Vesper a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys always so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'll see y'all next time.